Yo peoples, Kyushu92 here with yet another One Piece video as we continue to celebrate One Piece's 20th anniversary. It is day 16. We have 4 more days to go before this 20 for 20 challenge deal is over with. Now yesterday I talked about Donquixote Rocinante, or as he's commonly known as Corazon. But now we're going to be talking about his older brother, Donquixote Doflamingo, who we know as one of the central antagonists of the entire Dressrosa arc. Now, in his younger years, Doflamingo was raised to be a world noble alongside his family, but his father, Donquixote Homing, decided to leave the world noble status and decided to live as a normal person. The world noble sort of questioned this a little bit, so he took his sons, which are Donquixote Rocinante and Donquixote Doflamingo, with Rocinante inheriting his father's kindness and benevolence, while Donquixote Doflamingo inherited the world's, pretty much world noble's normal attitude of considering everything beneath them and not caring about morals or anything because they consider themselves gods. So, when they live in the normal world, they are met with animosity and anger to the people who have been treated by world nobles over the years, and their family is mistreated because of it. Their mother dies. The mothers of Doflamingo and Rocinante die due to the poor living conditions they are forced to stay in due to them constantly being chased by villagers who seek to kill them. So, at some point, Doflamingo, Homing, and Rocinante are both hung along the side of a building over a wall of fire as they're getting prepared to be executed and killed by the angered villagers. But Doflamingo awakens as Conqueror's Haki for the first time, and thus knocks out everybody, thus saving himself, his brother, and his father. But his father doesn't live very long after that, because Doflamingo himself shoots him out of anger for being treated as a commoner and thus losing his status as a world noble. Now, after he's killed his father, he takes the head of his father to the world nobles as an attempt to appease them and sort of gain his status back. But as typical world noble fashion, they no longer see Doflamingo as a world noble at all, and he's completely ousted and he's treated like a normal person. This angers Doflamingo to no end, to the point where his sole goal is to destroy everything that the world nobles have sought to build. And during his early years as a kid, he encounters Treble, Diamante, Pika, and Virgo, who all become his most loyalist of followers. And as his years grow, as he continues to get older and grow up to be a very well-known pirate, because his bounty before he became a warlord is 340 million. And he gains numerous other people who follow him: Sugar, Monette, Baby 5, Babylon, and Dellinger, along with Jorah, and that other guy, I forget the name too. There's Lao G, I forget that guy that has the, that can make himself pop or cause things to explode by touch. I really forget his name. Actually, I got the Doflamingo Pirates right here. Where are you? Yeah, Gladius. Oh, so he has Sugar, Jorah, Violet, Lauji, Senor Pink. I can't believe I forgot Senor Pink. Why did I keep calling him Babylon? His name is not Babylon, it's Buffalo. I'm sorry. Sugar, Jorah, Violet, Lauji, Senor Pink, Mock Vice, Dellinger, Gladius, Buffalo, Baby 5, and Monette. And he has numerous other underlings that work aside him, but the most notable one is Caesar Clown. Now, while he's growing up as a pirate, he seeks to have the Ope Ope no Mi and have it imbued in someone so he can use its ultimate ability to become an immortal. And after this, during these years, he grows to be a substantially well-known pirate. He's there for the execution of Gold Roger. He blackmails the world nobles because he has information on their most national and most prized treasure, and thus giving him the title that he once lost as a world noble, like the status and the privileges that go along with it. So he pretty much blackmails the world nobles to give him back what he once lost when he was a kid. Then he becomes a warlord after many years. Beforehand, he pretty much takes over the entire city of Dressrosa by blackmailing the king and a large number of his officers and manipulating him with his string ability in order to massacre a large number of the people in Dressrosa, and thus oust the king as a betrayer of his people and pretty much the most evil man in Dressrosa to their knowledge, thus setting himself up as the king of Dressrosa with the help of Treble, Diamante, and Pica as the heroes that saved them from their mad king. So he becomes the king of Dressrosa, and I believe this is also the same. He's still the king of Dressrosa, and he also becomes a warlord as well. So he's working with the government, but he pretty much still does whatever he wants, because he once told a world government official that he can quit anytime he wants to. And the last thing you want me to do, the last thing you want to do is tell me what to do, because I could just leave right now and become a real problem for all of you. And he really can, because he has the privileges of the world nobles out under his belt, along with being a very powerful pirate in his own right. So he's also there for the Marineford War. He's there for the warlord meeting about the newest addition to their group, Blackbeard. And during the Marineford War, he does some very significant things. He gives his speech on justice. Is the Marines right? Are the pirates right? Doesn't matter, because whoever wins this war will define justice. And he also is the one who cuts off Oars Jr.'s leg and pretty much causes Oars Jr. to be incapacitated before, I don't think Oars Jr. is dead, but he does deal a significant blow to Oars Jr., thus impairing him for the rest of the fight. Then, after all is said and done during the time skip, Doflamingo is an underworld broker by the name of Joker. Broker named Joker. I didn't even expect that to rhyme. I'm sorry. But he's an underworld broker who's called Joker, and he's working alongside Kaido after the time skip in order for Kaido to get supplied by Doflamingo artificial devil fruits that will allow Kaido to have his own artificial Zoan army. And this is going well for Doflamingo, because that means he's under the protection of a Yonko so long as he continues to supply Kaido with the fruits. And that pretty much means that Doflamingo can do whatever he wants. I mean, he's done so already, but with Kaido now now a person that he's under, he's pretty much given free reign to do anything, and he's still ruling Dressrosa at this point. But during the events of Punk Hazard, Caesar Clown, who is also pretty much coming up with the material needed to create those artificial devil fruits, gets captured by Law and Luffy, and this pretty much compromises Doflamingo's deal with Kaido and almost puts him at odds with Kaido because of the danger it potentially holds. If Doflamingo is not able to supply Kaido with the artificial devil fruits, Kaido will kill Doflamingo, and Doflamingo doesn't want that. He's a powerful pirate, but but Doflamingo is not powerful enough to stand up to Kaido, and he himself knows that if I don't give Kaido what he wants, he'll kill me, and he just flat out says this. So he seeks to get Caesar Clown back, lures some of the Straw Hats into Dressrosa. Well, they head to Dressrosa anyway, but he lures Luffy away from Law and the rest of them in the hopes of separating all of them, because he happens to have Ace's Devil Fruit, which had gone back into circulation, and somehow Doflamingo was able to get his hands on it. So after he lures Luffy away, he encounters Law. They have a short skirmish. They meet up with the newly introduced Admiral Fujitora, and they all have a small skirmish. I'm trying to find my words. I do apologize. They have a small skirmish where they each display each other's abilities. And during this point, Law starts to run. Doflamingo corners Law, and in turn explains to Law his status as the descendant. He's a descendant of the family of Donquixote, which happens to be a family that helped form the world government, thus making his family name world noble status. And afterwards, he's prepared to kill Law, but Fujitora saves Law and tells him that Law is meant to be arrested, not killed. So, more events transpire. Law gets thrown into the city after trying to continue to fight with Doflamingo once again. And Doflamingo shoots Law because during his younger days, Law had joined Doflamingo's crew with the hopes of just going all out and destroying everything he sees, because Law not only contracted a lead poisoning disease, but his entire town and everyone he's ever known and loved, including his mother, father, and sister, were all killed by the world government in the hopes that the lead poisoning, which is not contagious by the way, would be contained. And he's the only survivor of that entire massacre. So, as an insult to Law, because Law ends up getting the Ope Ope no Mi, which Doflamingo was after in order to make himself immortal, Law gets the fruit, and in a insult to his past, Doflamingo shoots Law with lead bullets as a way of further insulting what he had been through as a child. So, Doflamingo takes Law alongside Fujitora to the main castle of Dressrosa. More events transpire. Sabo, you see Sabo, there's Jesus Burgess, lots of significant people inside the Dressrosa arc. But Doflamingo is up in the main palace, and Luffy frees Law, the soldier, toy soldier, who turns out to be Kyrdos, who turns out to be a well-known commander before the events of Dressrosa, ends up actually, because of what one of the members of Doflamingo did to Kyrdos' wife, who was also the princess of Dressrosa by the name of Scarlet, and I didn't even look at the screen for that, by the name of Scarlet, Diamante turns out to be the one that killed Scarlet, who was Kyrdos' wife and Rebecca's mother. And because of what part Doflamingo had to play in that event transpiring, Kyrdos went after Doflamingo, but he's saved by Luffy before Doflamingo completely cuts off his head. And more battles happen. Law and Luffy get away from Doflamingo, but they start to make their way back to Doflamingo in order to fight him, because Law has been in the sea stone cuffs, so that sort of weakened him, so he waited until his stamina came back up in order for Doflamingo and themselves to fight. So when they make their way back to the roof, they have their little talk, and then they talk about, pretty much talk about a whole bunch of other things, and then they start fighting, with Treble being the only person alongside Doflamingo that's remained at this point, because Pika's been taken down by Zoro, and Diamante's been taken down by Kyrdos, and Virgo's been taken down by Law. At this point, I might as well just say that Virgo's dead. And the only person who's left is Treble, alongside Doflamingo. Doflamingo, Law, and Luffy fight, with Doflamingo suffering the first bit of damage since the entirety of his appearance. And not counting his childhood, because he was a kid then, but during the entirety of his appearance, Doflamingo suffers damage for the first time thanks to the combo between Luffy and Law, which is Luffy's Red Hawk. And they all start fighting. And then Doflamingo uses Bellamy to fight Luffy, and then they fight in another completely different location. How he's able to control Bellamy through the roof, I don't know. But Doflamingo and Law fight each other. Then Doflamingo both reflect on the events of Rocinante betraying Doflamingo in order to help Law and give the Ope Ope no Mi to Law, which Doflamingo himself said he never intended for Law to have. But he had the intention of making Law a loyal officer, a loyal crew member, in order for him to perform the operation on Doflamingo, so Doflamingo could become immortal. This is the opposite of what happens, however, because Law then tries to exact the revenge of Corazon, aka Rocinante, on Doflamingo. Law does significant damage to Doflamingo using his Gamma Knife, completely butchers his insides, with Doflamingo having to rely on his string ability in order to keep his insides together. Now, after Luffy beats Bellamy, he makes his way back up to the roof, where Doflamingo had a short talk with Law, and cuts off Law's arm, leaving Law out of the fight. Now, Luffy has a short talk with Doflamingo, and they both prepare to fight, with Luffy entering Gear 4th. A form we were waiting on for so long. But the battle starts to get one-sided, leaning in Luffy's favor due to how powerful his Gear 4th form is, sending Doflamingo flying in numerous directions and inflicting damage on Doflamingo that Doflamingo was not prepared for. So after this is all said and done, after being bodied by Luffy multiple times and not understanding how Luffy managed to gain such power and how he's able to stay rubbery even though his body is so hard, and how Doflamingo hasn't been able to injure Luffy ever since he got in his Gear 4th form, save for a couple of quick strikes, but it's not enough to slow Luffy down. So Doflamingo continues his fight with Luffy, where Luffy loses his Gear 4th form due to how much it taxes his body and also taxes his usage of haki. So, after all that said and done, he's gained the favor of the people in Dressrosa and also the gladiators that Luffy fought alongside and against in the Colosseum. Some of the gladiators stand up to Doflamingo in order to buy Luffy some time. They do not make it. So, after Luffy regains his haki and his stamina back, because at this point we see Viola or Violet. Yeah, we see Violet try and take on Doflamingo, but Doflamingo easily takes her down, and then uses his ability to have Rebecca, who's there as well, to force Rebecca to kill Violet. This, of course, is stopped by Luffy, who's regained his stamina and haki and begins to use his Gear 4th form again in a final clash with Doflamingo. Now, at one point beforehand, Luffy pretty much just Kamehamehas Doflamingo into the side of the mountain that has the Dressrosa Castle in it. And for a short time, it appears that Doflamingo's been defeated. Because over all this that's happening, Doflamingo used an ability called Birdcage, which would cause an enormous cage of strings to surround the entire country of Dressrosa. But it's also razor sharp, and he also caused the birdcage to close in an effort to pretty much kill everybody in Dressrosa and make sure that no one in the outside world ever finds out what happens. All this is going on, and the birdcage is getting smaller and smaller while Doflamingo, Law, and Luffy are fighting. And it's getting smaller and smaller, and it's getting really down to the wire where it almost envelops the center of Doflamingo, because the birdcage moves where Doflamingo is. It doesn't stay centered at one place, it moves wherever Doflamingo goes. A similar way to Kisame Hoshigaki's giant water prison jutsu that he used to fight B in during the time skip of Naruto. So it's sort of similar like that. You can't escape it, you can't get out, because as long as the user moves, it moves with the user. So that's just a little tidbit. But Luffy prepares to fight Doflamingo one final time, and they're both smack-talking each other. Doflamingo uses a final trump card, because at this point we see Doflamingo use an awakened form of his ability. Like literally the first version of an awakened form Devil Fruit of the Paramecia type. We've seen the awakened types and Zoan types due to the guards of the Impel Down arc. But Doflamingo becomes the first Paramecia user that we see to have an awakened form to his fruit, therefore allowing him to turn his surroundings into streams that he can use to attack Luffy with. So he uses his ability to cause numerous buildings around him to turn into sharp spears that are tipped and coated in haki that allows him to pretty much try and kill Luffy in a final attempt, and he calls this ability God Thread. So Luffy in turn uses his own ultimate ability, which is King Kong Gun. Kong Gun in the beginning of the fight is what sent Doflamingo flying from the top of the castle all the way down to the center of the Dressrosa city, which kind of left Doflamingo a little bit confused as to how he managed to go flying from the castle down to the center of town in the first place. So, yeah, there's that. So Luffy uses his own trump card, King Kong Gun, to combat Doflamingo's God Thread. And of course, Luffy's own move overpowers Doflamingo's and thus beats Doflamingo. Like, he literally takes it square in the face, and the blow is so huge that it pretty much breaks, caves in, and craters a giant portion of the city of Dressrosa. Like, the blow itself literally causes the entire ground to cave in on itself, with Doflamingo being defeated, falling down to the center of the bottom of where he had his whole secret operation going, which is underneath the city at the time. With Doflamingo lying defeated, the entire city of Dressrosa is back to normal. Its king is restored to his respective places. The entire crew of the Donquixote pirates are pretty much imprisoned, with Doflamingo being the most severe imprisonment, with his entire body covered in sea stone chains. Like, it only takes like regular cuffs in order to keep one's devil fruit's ability from manifesting, but due to Doflamingo's power, they completely covered his body in it, legs, feet, and chest. So after all is said and done, Doflamingo is being taken to impel down with the escort of Sengoku, Suru, and Fujitora, along with, I believe, Vice Admiral Bastille, who's there as well. Jack the Drought, who happens to be one of the commanders for Kaido, for the Yonko Kaido, attempts to reclaim Doflamingo, but Jack is unsuccessful, and I believe at this point Doflamingo is still being taken to impel down. Thus ends the tyranny of the heavenly Yaksha, Don Quixote Doflamingo. Now, we all seen his strength. He is beyond... It took Luffy going into Gear 4th, and only Luffy going into Gear 4th, being able to defeat Doflamingo. Though I do believe Law had his hand in helping Luffy beat Doflamingo due to the effects of Law's Gamma Knife. But his strength is unparalleled. Like, we haven't seen someone that strong in One Piece in a very long time. Being able to do a 360 kick, like a simple 360 kick, and completely cut off the upper half of the castle of Dressrosa. Using his own haki, overpowering Luffy's at one point. Being able to coat his own abilities in haki and thus injure Logia users, such as his short skirmish with Smoker, and his incredible inhuman durability. This guy pretty much was hit by Luffy in his Gear 4 form numerous times, and even being hit by Luffy's, I want to say, Hawk Bazooka, being hit by Luffy's Hawk Bazooka and landing in a giant massive crater on the side of the mountain of the Dressrosa Castle, and he was still conscious. So Doflamingo is pretty much a complete tank, and his abilities grant him numerous attributes as well, such as being able to manipulate people like puppets on a string, being able to attach his strings to clouds, thus giving him the rare ability for a Paramecia user to fly, being able to create string clones out of people, thus project his voice, and also use haki as well, and coordinate with his attacks as well. His abilities allow him to coat his strings in haki so they can function in a way similar to piano wire, so he can either bifurcate, cut, or slash people if he wanted to. And anyone who is manipulated by his strings, they cannot break out of it. Luffy has been the only one to break out of those strings through pure brute strength. And that's only thanks to his Gear 4th form. And we've already seen the personality of Doflamingo. He relishes sadistic tendencies. He loves to see people suffer due to just how he was as a world noble. And this only worsened because he was ousted as a world noble. So now he wanted to see everything that the world nobles have built upon to be destroyed because of what they did to him. But Doflamingo no longer has the capabilities at the moment to do anything about it, because now he's heading to Impel Down to suffer for his crimes, with the victors being Monkey D. Luffy, further cementing Monkey D. Luffy still not being done with his path of becoming King of the Pirates. I hope you all enjoyed yourselves today. I'm sorry if I took too long to talk about Doflamingo. I kind of want to talk more, but my video only allows 30 minutes of time. So, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I can't wait to see you in the next one. And as always, later, peoples!